Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities.
Turnbuckles and Stogies. Yo, what is up? What is up? Yo, happy Sunday. Another Sunday with your favorite hostess with the mostest.
My dad, I'm doing a wrestling match. I looked at him and I said, hey, what part of Brooklyn are you in?
We're not in Brooklyn, sir. We're in upstate New York in Dutchess County. I'm originally from Yonkers. Hung out in the farm.
Wait a minute. I guess you guys don't know each other that well.
What is up? What is up? What is up? Yo, it's your host with the most. It is the big dog, the Vanilla Gorilla, and we are Turnbuckles and Stogies Pod. And you know where you can find us on all streaming networks all over.
Roku, Amazon,
iHeart,
Apple,
Radio, Apple, all of
we're
that.
everywhere.
So check us out and enjoy the show. I hope y'all enjoyed last week's, but you're going to enjoy the one we're doing this week. So, who do we have here, son?
Well, we have a guest that we've wanted on that everybody's asked about, and people have told us we had to have him on. So I hit up Mr. Huber, and we were able to sit down. We're able to sit down with him today. And
Wait, and who's Mr. Huber?
it's Jon Huber. Whoa, that did not work right. You can go now. I can't talk.
Jon Huber is the
Wow, that
owner
did not come out.
of
Wow.
And he took time out of his busy schedule today to do an interview with us. So let's go ahead and hit the interview of the week and put him up.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
What is up? What is up? What is up, Mr. Huber?
Cheers and happy Veterans Day. I have to say that intro gave me goosebumps, man. That was pretty badass intro for Vets Day. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that's actually that's our normal intro actually every week, because we work with MB Radio, which is a veteran-owned station.
Shout out to
My
all
dad-
the vets, man. Appreciate everybody's
my-
service. 100%.
My dad was a veteran. My brother was a veteran. My grandpa, my uncle, my cousins, my nephews.
Nice.
So shout
Thanks
out
to all
everybody.
for the service.
Take our
Appreciate
hats off.
each and every one. 100%.
Yes,
And without you guys keeping us safe, we would not be able to do this.
absolutely.
That's exactly right.
So let's get into it. So our first question to everybody is,
You're just jumping right
How
into
long-
it. You're just like right boom. Go. All right, I'm ready.
well, listen,
he likes to jump right into it.
I mean, we
His
can sit
first
here and talk
question.
a lot.
No. You're good. You're good, man. I'm just busting. That's all.
No, hey, listen, we have no filters. You had to see the way
I like that. I just thought we'd get on here and have a conversation. So I'm all about it. I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about Crown Heads, how long you've been smoking, and how did you get into the phenomenal cigars that you produce?
So Crowned Heads was officially announced February of 11. We made the announcement that Mike Conder, my former business partner, and I were going to start this company, and it was going to be called Crowned Heads. And then from there, we basically that spring, summer, we took off, went to Central America, took a lot of meetings with the different factories to figure out who's going to make the cigars. So at that point, it was just an idea of a company. And then we started shipping our first products November the 8th or the 9th, as my memory recalls, of 2011. And that was 4 Kicks. And we've been doing it ever since. So, you know, I got my undergrad degree at the University of CAO, basically, which was a great company that I was privileged to work for. Dear man, rest in peace, John Osgoner, gave me my first break into the industry back in '96. Worked there until 2010, December of 2010. CAO moved to Richmond, Virginia, under General Cigar. And shortly thereafter, Mike and I formulated Crown Heads. And so I've been doing premium cigars for more than half my life now. So I couldn't do anything else. Don't know how to do anything else. So that's the Reader's Digest condensed version of it.
Well, that's good. And I like the 4 Kicks, by the way. We had them.
Had them a few different times.
We've had them a few different times. And I've always said, man, whoever did this did a great job on it. And,
you know, what's interesting about that is, like, when we finally made the decision that we were going to start the journey with Ernesto Perez Carrillo at his factory, at that time, Ernie wasn't doing contract brands for anybody. He had just started EPC Cigar Company in 2009, and he was only making his own brands. And so it was kind of a long shot that he would even say yes to the proposition, but he did. But he also did it with, like, kind of a caveat. Excuse me, I gotta hit the decline on this one. Sorry. He said basically, and this is exactly what I wanted to hear. He says, listen, he goes, we'll do this together, but I'm not going to sell you a car off the lot, but I will teach you how to build the car if you come down here. And then if it works, congratulations. If it doesn't work, it's still on you. And that's really what I wanted to do. So I kind of say I got my grad degree working with Ernesto. He taught me a lot of things, business.
That had
and
to be an
otherwise.
interesting process with him for sure.
Oh man, yeah. You know, I mean, it really was. I mean, it was like, I kind of compare it to that. What's that movie with the Karate Kid, where, like, wax on, wax off kind of thing? It was like, it was kind of like, yeah, Mr. Minagi or whatever.
Mr. Miyagi. Yeah.
Miyagi.
Yes.
I'm getting Paulie Malignaggi and Mr. Miyagi crossed over. So, at any rate, it was a lot of that. Like, he would, like, put out different. He would say, like, okay, here's 2 hands of a Ligero, both from Esteli. This one's from this farm, and this one's from this farm. They're 10 miles away. Smoke it, validate it, tell me the difference, that kind of a thing. Right. So we built it from the ground up, especially 4 Kicks. And then once we got through that process, and, you know, you get to the point where you're familiar enough with the different tobaccos and the different regions and primings and what have you, you kind of know your way around the kitchen a little bit. So yeah. But that was an experience. I really, really, to this day, I still remember it clearly, like, just going down there and working with him on the most minute details. Like, he taught me how to validate strength of a certain tobacco, not by taste, but by smell. I was like, you know, he'd light like a hand of tobacco and he'd do this. And he's like, take a hit. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, like, breathe it in. And my eyes start to tear up. And he's like, that's how you know the strength of the tobaccos. So little things like that along the way. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has their little ins and outs.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, because, you know, a lot of people, when they go to a factory and they start blending their blends, they're smoking anywhere from 5 to 10 cigars a day.
Like, definitely, at least. I mean, when we got down to it, you know, we would have, like, maybe I'd have 4 different cigars with a Sharpie, like A, B, C, D, and we'd be going back and forth, smoke, put it down, smoke, put it down. And it was 5 to 10 is an understatement. On a daily basis, just here in the office, I'm probably smoking anywhere between 3 and 5, depending upon the size of the cigar. So,
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's a very interesting story. I like that. That's a lot of different brand owners have different stories of.
I think that's the first time I've heard of somebody lighting the handfuls of tobacco and just having you kind of breathe it in to validate the strength of it. I've never heard that one before.
Never heard it.
I hadn't done it before either, and that was not my first time in a factory. Obviously, I mean, I visited factories when I was with CAO, but that was the first time somebody did that with me. There's been a lot of those little kind of episodes along the way. I remember like the first time I was at my father's cigars. Actually, the second time I was at my father's cigars, and we were going through different parts of the processing steps, and I noticed that all of in the aging room. If you go to most aging rooms, like you'll see a wheel of cigars, and they're usually like this. They're all like on, Well, I noticed that the Garcias had them all vertical, and I'm like, I asked Jaime, I said, why are these vertical? He says, well, if you think about it, the whole reason why they're here in this aging room is to get the moisture out, to dissipate the moisture. But if you have the cigar like this, gravity will pull the moisture down, and you'll end up with these cigars that will have uneven amount of moisture. Whereas here, they'll all go through the foot and they'll dissipate out the foot. Another little, I was like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's smart.
It is.
That's really smart.
That's my wife. She gets involved every now and then. She doesn't. It's not that she doesn't like cigars. She has asthma and she doesn't like cigars, but she pops in every now and then.
No, that's interesting.
You said you worked with CAO. Did you work with Mr. Rich Rodriguez?
Rick.
No, Rick Rodriguez came way after. I'm talking CAO back in. Started in 96 all the way to 2010. And then once General Cigar took it to Richmond, that's when you had the advent of Ricky Rodriguez. So I was like the ground floor.
Okay. Because, we're good friends with Rick Rodriguez. I'm good friends with Michael Giannini. And,
good guys.
Mike got me on La Gloria Cubanas. And when I retired in April, I got a nice little chunk of change, and
right.
I went and bought every trunk show that Kevin had up in Danbury.
Kevin Page?
Yep, yes. Buttheads.
Yeah. I know Kevin Page very well, actually.
So I called him up. We went there, and I was going to Stu Leonard's, and then I said to him, we stopped there to get a cigar. And I called him.
We didn't just get one the first time.
Hold on, I called him back and I said, Kev, I'm on my way back. I want one of every trunk show that you have.
Whatever ones I didn't get.
Whatever ones I didn't get. So I come home and I have, and the actual humidors, and I come home and I bring them in, and my wife goes, what is that? I said, it's a figment of your imagination. There's nothing here. I'm just carrying an empty box. And she goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Emmy Joe, to my daughter, you want some tattoos? Dad's buying. I said, go for it. I said, go for it.
You got nothing. You can't come back from anything like that. It's like I'm surprised.
No, you can't even argue it either. So you walked in with the evidence.
That's right.
You walked in with the evidence.
Yep.
So I'm really enjoying this cigar, the Broadway, and and I see me and Joey were talking the other day, and I didn't realize that your labels are kind of like rebranded.
Oh yeah, we went through it. This past year has been a huge undertaking in terms of rebranding, about consolidating the portfolio, rebranding the portfolio, and actually getting rid of some of the stuff that we got rid of. We just really kind of hyper focused on the brands that were doing well and that had the potential to do very well, and then we took those and rebranded completely. Yeah, if you look at where we were last year compared to where we are this year, it's a completely different look. Yeah,
I was going to say, so why did you want to rebrand was some of, and I asked this to all the manufacturers and distributors. So I guess what I'm saying is you rebranded because some of your cigars weren't moving fast enough, or you didn't like the way it was tasting or moving, or what?
No. We 100% believed in the construction, the flavor, everything. The product was on point. However, it became apparent that we didn't have continuity at the retail level in the portfolio. In other words, you could walk into a given store and you could see Juarez next to Mil Diaz, next to La Imperiosa, next to, whatever. And you'd be like, okay, those are great, but Crown Heads does all of those. I had no idea. At one point, a few years ago, we started doing these shelf talkers underneath where it would say Crown Heads to try to alleviate that problem. And at one point, we started putting foot ribbons on, or foot rings on, and it said Crown Heads.
Yeah.
But it never really tied everything together. And it really dawned on me in, I think it was February of this past year. I think it was either 25 or 24, but we looked at our wall, so to speak, at Costa de Monte Cristo here in Nashville. We were in a sales meeting, and I looked at the wall objectively from a 30,000 square foot view, so to speak, and I was like, there's nothing tying these products together. And then it really became apparent that we needed to get proactive about rebranding. So, we did a lot of like the analytics of like what's moving, what's not moving. Let's kind of get rid of what's not working. Let's focus on what is, and then let's take everything and give it a look that will tie everything together, which was a very labor intensive process. It took the better part of like almost a year and a half. I mean, we spent like 2 months just on the hero logo and that CH with the crown, rendition after rendition after rendition, to finally figure out which one we liked. And then the next thing was like, okay, how do we, do this rebrand, but still pull elements of the existing brand so that there's not a lot of confusion. So on La Imperiosa, for instance, if you look at the side where the coins usually are, there's the crown. That's from the original Imperiosa. Mil Diaz, you have the M from the Mil Diaz. So it just took it took a lot of effort, a lot of time working with our designer in the Dominican Republic, a great man named Juan Carlos Fondier, who we were fortunate enough to meet at the trade show just by happenstance. And we'd been talking about doing this rebrand. And he said, hey, I could probably help you with that. And we looked at his portfolio. He's been working in the industry for like 20 years. And so that began the process. A lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of emails, a lot of PDF files, all that stuff.
Right.
Collectively, we made it happen. In fact, tomorrow will be the latest unveiling of our rebrand, which is Tennessee Waltz, which is something
I was going to ask you about that. It's funny. I seen your video. I was going to ask you about that today too.
Yeah.
So,
John,
so
tomorrow.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go. It's your show, not mine.
I was just going to tell you it's your show, but anyway. So Waltz is getting rebranded and expanded. So give you a little backstory of Waltz if you're not familiar. In 2014, one of the first things we did at my father's cigar factory in January of 14, that was a very productive meeting. Actually, we did the first Las Calaveras, we did Tennessee Waltz, and we did Jericho Hill. All of those came out of that first meeting in January. But Waltz was done as a one-size state exclusive for the state of Tennessee because at that time we were just getting going, but we had a really good support in our home state of Tennessee. So it was probably at that time 32 or 33 stores that were working with us. So we did the state exclusive, one size, 5.5 by 52, and it was only available in Tennessee. Well, they did very well with it, and it became very much in demand. And, we never even had a primary ring on the thing that identified it as Tennessee Waltz. So it was just a 5.5, 52, little Robusto extra with an orange foot ribbon on the bottom.
I was just going to say the orange foot ribbon is what always identified it when I
was able to
find it online.
That was it. And every time we would look at the analytics and reports, like Waltz was one of the best selling things we've been doing. And I'm like, well, it makes sense to can we expand this into an actual brand, open it up to everybody, not just Tennessee, and rebrand it. And that's what you're going to see tomorrow. Basically, that's the unveiling. Cool. So and we'll start shipping that next week. It's on its way from Nicaragua right now. So I'm excited for that.
Cool. So on that note, Mr. John, we have to take a break to pay our bills, and we'll be right back.
Click that one.
Yeah.
stars and stripes, and the courage to stand and fight.
None of you know what you're doing.
And we're back.
Nobody listens.
What's up?
We're
guys?
back.
So, we got, like you were just mentioning about Juarez and Jericho Hill and stuff like that.
Right.
How did you come up with like those specific names for those cigars? Because I've had the opportunity to smoke the newer Jericho Hill stuff and then some of the older stuff that I've been able to pick up over the years. And the Juarez, I've smoked, I believe, a little bit of all of them, I think, except for, I think, the little, like, 60 ring I think you guys did.
Oh, we did the little, in the sampler pack, it was Ferdinand, little 4x58.
Yeah, that was, and then, I didn't have the opportunity to smoke that, but that LE was
bulldozer.
Absolutely. That was delicious.
Yeah, that box
I
press.
smoked almost a whole box of those.
I was actually unique because it wasn't just the Vitola that changed, but we did throw a little San Andreas Mexican in the filler. Just because when we tried it without that, it lost a lot because of the big ring gauge. When we added that in, it gave it just enough little oomph to substantiate that 58 ring gauge. And I like the box press because it makes it easier to smoke. I'm not a big ring gauge guy usually, so that's kind of pushing the boundaries for me. A 58.
No, that box press kind of hit right on the money for that cigar itself.
Yeah, I'm working on a reissue of that for 26, a version of that bulldozer.
Right,
I'm similar.
I'm looking forward to that because that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Told everybody, I'm like, I enjoyed that. I'm like, I love the Juarez because, for the price point too, you're getting a phenomenal cigar.
It is. It punches well above its weight in terms of price. Even the bulldozer was sub $10 at SRP, that's like unheard of for a limited edition.
Mm-hmm.
So that was always kind of like the value prop in our portfolio, and we try to keep it that way. But I think that thing could box with a cigar that's like 10 to 14 easily.
Oh, absolutely. And I said that to everybody. I'm like, how much did you pay? I'm like, I think they're like $8 or $9 depending on where you go. I'm like, that cigar, I said I could unband that cigar and hand it to somebody. I was like, and that's probably one of those 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick that over the expensive cigar.
100%.
Sorry about that, John. We're in the process of moving. I have a dryer that's very sensitive. So I'm the only one that knows how to fix it. So I had to go fix that. But now.
That was fast work.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Your Las Calaveras, the Juarez and all that.
We were just talking about that.
Well, I wasn't here, and I didn't hear. But I never knew that you are the person that made those.
See, there you go. That's why we rebranded, to try to tie everything together to the Crowns family. But yeah, all the limited edition stuff stays unrebranded. So Las Calaveras will remain the same, but like the core brands, with the exception of Juarez, are all going to be rebranded going forward. So you'll see Waltz rebranded. Tomorrow will be the unveiling, and then soon thereafter, we're going to show you the rebranding of Jericho Hill. Jericho Hill, for me, is like one of the most underrated cigars in our portfolio. When we blended it with it's fantastic. When we blended that thing with the Garcias in 14 in January, that
is an awesome cigar.
Go ahead. It is.
No,
and it just doesn't get enough attention.
Correct. It doesn't. It's one of those, like, in my opinion, like the Juarez that, sometimes I feel people just overlook.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. And when I approached the Garcias about making that in January of 14, my inspiration to Jaime was, I said, do you have San Andreas tobacco? And he's like, oh yeah, we got, showed me all the pilons that they have. I said, okay, I've got an idea. He's like, what do you want to do? I said, I want to make the poor man's Padron anniversary. And he just smiled. He's like, okay. And so that's why that cigar was box pressed. That's why that was the profile we were kind of going after. And ironically, about, I don't know, in the first 3 months after we released it, I read one of the online reviews and some guy actually drew the comparison. This tastes a lot like a Padron Anniversario. And I was like, you hit it. You got it right. So to this day, that cigar, I think, is one of the best things in our portfolio, but it just hasn't gotten the attention it deserves. So with this rebrand, hopefully it'll draw some eyes in the humidor to get people to encourage trial back to Jericho.
The Jericho Hill, when you walk in, and Joey will tell you, when you walk in, Jericho Hill is like a cigar that's kind of like buried in the corner or buried in,
it's with all your other stuff, but it's kind of like, you might have Juarez, you might have Mil Diaz, La Imperiosa, a couple boxes of Jericho Hill, and then Las Calaveras, and then this one and that, and it's like it almost gets lost in the shuffle.
So I tell
100%.
people, because they say, you're smoking a $5 cigar. And I say, okay, so here's what I want to do to you. I said, the next time I see you, I'm going to have 4 cigars. None of them are going to have labels. And I want you to tell me which one is a Jericho Hill cigar. The next time I see them, I actually bought a Padron, and I took the label off, and I remembered which one it was, and I said to him, "Smoke these 4 while we're sitting here, because we're gonna be here for hours, and let me know what you smoke." What was the first one he smoked? Was the Patron. Talked about, "Oh man, this is really good," and da 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 da. He goes, "This got to be a Padron," and I'm like, eh. He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Bro, you just smoked this," and I showed him the label. He goes, "No way," and I went in my humidor and I took it out and I said, "Look," and he goes, "Bro," I said, "Listen, any smoker can tell you when they see the label, but if you take a smoker and take a label off and just hand them the cigar, they're gonna sit there like dumbfounded, like, what is this? They don't put that out, and then when you show them it's the same exact one that they're smoking, they're like, oh my God." I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Bro, it's like when Coca-Cola used to do
the
the
Pepsi
Coca-Cola
challenge."
Yes.
Yeah,
When
exactly.
they cover it up, and then they used to say, which one is Coke, or which one is the Pepsi,
Or which one you like better, and everybody picks Pepsi,
Right.
and they're like, "Oh, the Pepsi challenge." Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so that's basically, and I tell people, the cigar world basically does what all the other companies in the industries of food, restaurant, whatever, they do the same thing, but it's done in a different way.
Right.
100%. I
You
agree.
know, and
A lot of it is presentation, and that's another part of the big part of the rebrand. But yeah, a lot of it's presentation. Because I mean, using the restaurant experience as an example, if you get a plate that just has throw a steak on there, and it's the same steak, but you put it on a plate that has nice little, like, the presentation is better. There's like a little side of this, a little splash of that, whatever. Somehow subliminally you're going to like that other one better just because the presentation is better.
Right.
I think cigars are very much like that, because if you think about it, if you took all the cigars out of boxes and took all the bands off and put them on the humidor wall in a retail space, what would differentiate the cigar from the next cigar? Because we're all pulling from the same tobaccos, we're all using the same farms.
Right.
I mean, it's not like this huge, there's only a finite amount of different variations on the theme you can create. But I think what separates certain brands is the presentation. Ultimately,
Right.
You got to have a good product, but the presentation has to be on point as well, I think.
So now, tell me, because I told you I'm smoking at Broadway, and I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the name the Broadway, and why did you make it in Robusto?
Well, the Robusto is easy to answer because it's one of the most popular sizes, but we made it Broadway for a couple of reasons. When we were, again, going back to all these analytics, we took all of our SKUs and saw what we basically put every cigar in a system that by the length, the ring, and the wrapper varietal. And then we ran this algorithm thing, whatever. And basically what kicked out was like the most popular size that we do is a 654. And the most popular wrapper is either broadleaf or San Andreas. It's got to be dark. So it was a no-brainer to start working with something with broadleaf. And then I started thinking like broadleaf way, like, oh, this is the broadleaf way. Well, Broadway, because Broadway district in Nashville is very iconic now. So it was just a play on words. Broadway, it's like the broadleaf way, and then Broadway, it has the double entendre of being here in Nashville, Lower Broadway, and all that. So that's how it got its name. But the blend actually was derived from another cigar that we were doing called Le Patissier. Also, same factory as Nicaraguan American Cigars SA, which is Naxa. So we released Patissier a few years ago, and it was interesting. It was like kind of like, you take the band off and give it to somebody, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, the cigar is amazing." But we couldn't get any turns with the distribution for whatever reason. So I'm like, okay, is the name too esoteric? Is the story too weird? Is the font too small? Whatever it is, we just got to start from scratch. So I took a blend that I knew was really good, and I tweaked it and modified it, and then we landed on Broadway, and I just kind of like made everything easy to pronounce, made it very iconic looking, and now that brand is one of our top performers. It's doing really, really well. It's literally the same blend, same components as Patissier, except I took one of the Visos that's in the filler from Patissier, and I swapped that out for a Ligero to give it a little bit more strength. And with that one change, that became Broadway.
because this is a really good cigar. I'm really enjoying this. I smoked it. Like I said, me and Joey, what we do, and people will say, why do you do that? I'd like to, like, you know, we only ask for 2 cigars and whatever anybody sends. So, like, when you did that, he smoked one and I smoked the other.
Honestly, I smoked the Broadway first because I've been wanting to try that for so long.
Then I smoked the
Imperiosa.
one.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, and people say why? And I say, because we like to taste it before they come on so that we have some kind of, you know, sense of what it is. Like, you know, we had Las Galos on the other day.
Okay.
And, you know, and I was messing with him because we were in a private lounge in New Windsor, New York. And it has the head of the Eagles because it's called the Brothers of the Leaf Members Only Private Cigar Lounge. So then he goes, "Oh man, that looks like my logo." And I looked. I said, "How does it look like your logo? That's an eagle and that's a cop."
But we didn't know what his logo looked like because
we
forgot to look at the box when he sat down with us.
Right. So you know, and he's a young kid, and John, we had such a blast. I have a blast with everybody, and I tell them, "This is your show. I just, you know, we make it fun. We're not your average podcast. I'm not going to sit here with a piece of paper and go, 'Oh, Joe, we got to ask him that. Joe, we got to ask him that. Joe.'" You know, like him and I go back and forth sometimes. And people say, "Man, how do you guys do this?" I said, "This is my son. I was in the wrestling business for 30 years.
Now I'm in."
I said,
"So that's the turnbuckles part of the title."
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh man, when I was a kid, I grew up way back, but I was really not the WWE stuff, but like I'm talking like Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, Great Mephisto, Haystack Calhoun, that era.
That was all of them.
Yeah, that was my
with Jerry Lawler and everybody else.
Yeah.
So those are the people. When I started my wrestling career in Dallas, I was with Jeff Jarrett, the Von Erichs, Matt Bourne, Bill Dundee, Magnum TA, Dusty Rhodes. So
Jeff Jarrett lives out here
in Hendersonville.
That's right. In fact, I saw him on Halloween. This is a really small story kind of thing, but good friends of my in-laws, their son-in-law is Jeff Jarrett. And so we went over there, took my daughter trick-or-treating in that neighborhood and opened the door, and Jeff was on the couch and we're like, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah, he lives in Hendersonville. That's right.
That's awesome.
You know, that's awesome. And, you know, people don't realize, and John, I always say this, the cigar world is very big, but very small.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
I've always said, I learned that. I've been smoking almost 10 years.
He started when he was 18.
I'm going to be 28. So actually, I'll be next year. It'll be 10 years I've been smoking.
I gave him for his very first cigar because he asked me to go with me to the lounge.
And I learned very quickly.
I said to him, "You got to talk to your mother because I'm not getting in trouble." So he went to it and she goes, "1 cigar."
Yeah.
Okay.
1 cigar.
Ask him what the cigar I gave him was.
One cigar.
What I was going to say, what was the first cigar?
Acid Blondie.
Oh man, that's not a cigar.
Which again, it wasn't bad to start out with. It kind of gave me a little introduction.
Right. Yeah.
I started smoking it. I got a little of the way through it, and then it went up my nose, and it didn't sit right with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I put it down because I was like, I can't, because it didn't sit right on my palate. Now that I know what that actually is.
And when you hear what his second cigar was,
and then I think I don't remember. No, that wasn't the second one. I think that was the third one.
No, that was the second one.
No, the Blondie was first.
Blondie was first.
What was second?
It was either I believe it was an Asylum 770 Triple Maduro was second, or the Rocky Patel Super Ligero.
All in one day, John.
I think
wow.
that was, I think
that's quite a christening right there. Holy crap.
The Asylum was I'm going to tell you right now, the Asylum was the third one because I came home and got sick. Again, I made him pick me up. I made him pick me up from the cigar shop because I couldn't walk across the street because I didn't feel good. Yeah. I made him pick me up. My mom picked me up. I came home. I walked in the door. I put my shit down. I went right in the bathroom, and that's where I remained for about 25 minutes.
And guess what? I was home, and I still got in trouble for it.
course.
He said,
That's the way it works. You
he
know
said,
that.
He turned him on to it. I said, I wasn't with him. I was with you.
The answer was you left me there.
Yeah.
It's always
You
your
left
fault.
him there.
Trust me, it's
18
always the
years
man's
old.
fault. I get
He's a
it.
grown
I
man.
get it.
But you know, John, it's funny because Joey remembers. Well, I can't say all his cigars, but Joey will remember some things. And we went to a lounge, and these guys were talking about this cigar. I forget what it was. They were just talking and talking and talking and talking.
You launched in 11.
Yep.
I started smoking in 16 when I turned 18. So your company would have only been like 5 years old when I started smoking.
So he was he was listening to the people, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, be quiet, don't say a word. And they just kept going on about this one cigar. And Joey turned around and goes, no, this is what it's blended with. This is what it was made with. This is who makes it.
And it was only because I didn't know anything. And, you know, at the time, there wasn't a lot of younger cigar smokers like me.
Right.
So, you know, I had to sit around the older crowd of cigar smokers. So I had to kind of learn and read up on what I was smoking to be able to, you know, participate in these conversations. So I knew what it was. I read and I went and I'm like, they're like, it's not that. I'm like, yes, it is. I promise you. I said,
what was this? What was the cigar?
Was it?
I forget
Wasn't
what it
it
was.
Asylum?
It might have been because that's when I think that's when they all just started smoking them, because when they got them down the hill.
I think I was the first one.
You and me were the first ones. I was at work. You bought one and smoked it, and you brought me one home.
Yes.
And they were arguing with him. And when I went to the lounge the next day, they're like, oh, your son thinks he's Mr. Know-It-All. It's only been, I said, bro. But all he did was tell you that was the wrong stuff you were saying.
Because I Googled it.
I've been smoking 35 years, and I've never been wrong on a cigar. And I said, you're full of shit. I said, because I've been smoking 30 years, and sometimes he'll tell you, I'm wrong on a cigar sometimes. Like,
I'm wrong too.
Wasn't that, I said, wasn't that
too.
cigar, the one we smoked the other day, wasn't that made by this guy and made with this blend? He goes, no, Dad, that was the other one. I said, oh, okay. And I leave it. You know, but it's just funny how, like, you know, like people don't realize, like we've been trying to get you on for a while. So Danny,
well, you've been requested for a while from a lot of people. They've always asked us to interview you, and I'm like, I'm gonna get there. I promise. I'm like,
so Danny,
you know, I want to get you up. I wanted to get enough people under my belt so that I had not a track record, more of like a track record for myself. Before,
yeah.
You know, I went to Drew Estate, to this one, because I wanted there to be you know, essentially like your cigars, a portfolio of work that we've done.
Right.
Of course.
You know, that if somebody wanted to go look and see who we've had, they'll see we've had, you know, Lampert, we've had we've had this one, we've had that one. So that way they can say, hey, listen, you know what? I see what you guys are doing. I see who you have on. I would love to come on, love to be a part of it. You know,
you're building a resume.
And exactly. And that's what I told people. I'm like, you know, I want to do it. And then we met up with a friend of ours, Rob, Sticks at the Shore, on Instagram.
Rob Connolly.
He told me to actually.
Good dude.
He was like, hey, he goes, you can get John. He goes, just message him. Send him a message. Yeah. He goes, I promise you. He's like, he'll answer you. I'm like, okay. And then, you know, I was like, somebody else asked me. I'm like, you know what? Let me just hit him up, see what we can get. You know, see if we can get him on, see what we can do. You know, see what dates we can work out. Because I'm like, you know what? What's the worst they could say? Hey, not right now.
I mean, we've had that happen with some other distributors and stuff, and cigar makers. Like there was one person, I don't want to say the name, but there was one person, I sent her a date.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm having knee surgery. Okay. Send me another date in a couple of months.
It was like date. I gave up after a while.
I'm going out to the factory. Okay. Then she hit me up and said, send me a date. I gave her a date. She goes, okay. And then emails me and goes, oh, yeah, I'm kind of backed up right now, so it won't be for a while. I said, okay, thank you anyway. Have a good day. You know, John, I'm not out of here. We've been doing this 2.5 years. Like, I'll send you dates, and you tell me what works.
You know, if we have to record,
if I have to record
we
like
don't
we're
mind
doing
recording.
Now, it's fine. I'm retired. So, you know, I'm looking to do some cigar stuff, like repping for New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, because I'm available.
Right.
You know, and people say, why don't you do that? I said, you know how hard it is to
It's
become a rep?
it's not easy. I worked in the
Because
industry for 6
people
months.
already have their reps.
I think I worked in the industry as a rep, or my title was sales director for a smaller company.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, you could tell them for 10 pounds.
don't get me wrong, I loved it, but I didn't realize, and you know, you can attest this, I didn't realize all the back end stuff that goes into trying to get cigars in these lounges, these shops. I didn't know all of that until I had the opportunity for somebody to give me a shot to do it. And then it was like, I did it, and I'm like, all right, everybody's like, oh, it's got to be easy. I'm like, yeah, no.
And you know, John,
I'm like, it's not as easy as you think. I said, you know, if you have a brand behind you, you know, that you're working with, like you, like Hoya, Drew Estate, Padron, Fuente, I said, it's a little easier because there's a name and a portfolio behind it.
Right.
I said, but if you're working for a smaller company, it's a lot harder to try to get your stuff in these shops.
And a lot of shops don't like unbanded cigars.
Listen, it's hard for us, and we've been doing it for a little bit. I mean,
Right.
it's a very competitive playing field. There's no question about it. And even for guys like us, like our sales guys, they got to work their tails off just to get in the door or whatever. I mean, knock on wood, we're in a good spot now, but I mean, you know, comparatively speaking, we got a long way to go still, but it's still difficult.
I mean, you know, and it's tough because even when you guys do events and Drew does events, because we know Zach and Pedro and all of them, listen, you know, you got the buy 3, get 1, buy 6, get 2.
Whatever the case
is, you know, especially in New York where it's 75% sales tax.
it makes it even harder.
Yeah, it's brutal.
You know, even to put you in a shop, you know, we went when he was working for another company. We went to this one shop and nobody could get in there. The reason we got in there because when I used to live in Yonkers, I used to frequent the shop.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Let me try it." He goes to Joey, "You got one a little stronger." Joey goes, "Yeah."
We had at the time, I don't know if it's still a thing, we had an all ligero cigar, wrapper binder filler. Like, you know, you could wake up in the morning, smoke that, and it'll put some hair on your chest and get your day started.
So, right. You know, Joey,
which was right up my alley because it was something that somebody had ordered, didn't want. And then he was like, "Oh, I'm never going to smoke them." I'm like, "Well, how many bundles do you have?" I'm like, "Just send them to me. I'll store them here and smoke them. And if I can sell them, I'll sell them for you."
And, you know, so when we went to the shop and we gave it to him, he called Joey up. He goes, when can I get my order? Joey goes, "Right now you can order and I can probably have them to you tomorrow."
Right.
He goes, "I have them sitting in my house." He goes, "Is that how you always work?" And Joey goes, "No." He goes, "It was just a frequent thing that, you know, it was sent to me by the owner." But, you know, John, I appreciate you coming on, bro. This is like,
absolutely,
you know, really big for us because, you know,
this is I enjoy doing these things, to be honest with you. I like just having a conversation with people and just bullshitting about cigars, whatever. I mean, I'm grateful to you guys for making the time during the day because that's usually my biggest stumbling block is like I get pretty frequently asked to do, you know, interviews, podcasts, what have you, and so on and so forth. But I'm like, I'm more than willing to do it as long as it's on a weekday and it's from 9 Central to 4 Central PM. I said after that, like I'm husband and dad, and then I'm like I clock out, right? So a lot of the times, like Dojo, I'll give you to throw a name out there, like, you know, it's the only time you can do their interviews, like on a Friday night at 9 o'clock, and they're all boozy and I don't drink, and I'm like, I'm not going to I'd rather spend my Friday night watching a Disney movie with my daughter and my wife and having a pizza than to sit there and bullshit with these guys at 9 o'clock. And if you want to do it, let's do it during the day, during business hours, and I'm more than happy to do it. So this is a pleasure for me.
When we first started with MB Radio, our time was 7 a.m. in the morning.
7 in the morning on I think it was
a
Sunday or a Saturday we started. And it was tough to get guests, and that was one of the trials we had to go through. And then we hooked up with a sports station that isn't around anymore.
The owner passed away.
The owner passed away, and they couldn't make it happen to keep the network, and we were able to get it to be 11 o'clock. And then once it became an 11 to 12:30 time slot, then, you know, we were able to start getting the guests on because it was later in the morning. People were already up. They were already working. You know, they were
Yeah.
already smoking their cigar, whatever. So
They
it
go,
worked
you know,
out.
they went to church, whatever. But guys, so this is
I
Mr.
mean-
Huber's Broadway. Y'all know I never smoked this far down, but this is not because it's here. But John, I am going to enjoy this.
I love
cigar.
that cigar.
So, John, tell us where people can find your cigars in the New York, New Jersey area, if you can, or how they can order from you, and the prices of like a 5-pack, a bundle, a box, or
So
whatever.
the reality is we don't ship directly to consumer. We're prohibited. We're our own wholesale distributor. So you got to go to your brick and mortar, support brick and mortar. I'm a big proponent of that.
Yes.
The best way to find out a
Yes.
store near you is go to our website, crownedheads.com. There's a little retail locator button. You click on that, put your zip code, and you can search 10 miles, 20 miles, 50 miles, whatever. And if you're like out in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody around you, you can always go online with the usual suspects, Cigars International, JR
I
Cigar,
was just gonna
Atlantic
say
Cigar.
JR, yeah, all that stuff.
All those guys are big supporters of what we do. So, I mean, it's easy to get our product.
So, what's the average price of your cigars?
I would say, I mean, you start with Juarez, that's probably in the 7 to 9 per stick suggested retail. Now, I'm not talking about OTP tax or state tax
Right.
I mean, you go to Washington State and it's 126% on top of that, whatever. So we start 7 to 9 SRP Juarez, and then it goes up. I think our highest priced cigar probably would be somewhere between 12 and 14. We try to keep it under 13, actually.
That's
A couple of the
actually nice.
LEs dip a little higher than that. Like we had a Las Calaveras 10th anniversary called Decimo Aniversario last year. That was $18.95 per cigar, but that was a special.
I would have bought that.
It was that was a great cigar. Great.
And then
cigar.
I know you guys did the blood medicine cigars as well.
Yep.
Those were, so I had the opportunity to smoke one of them. I don't remember which one it was that somebody had sent me in a Secret Santa.
Okay. What'd you think?
Oh, so good.
Was it the light color band or the red band?
No, so I haven't had the red band yet.
So it was the light color.
It's the lighter. It was the lighter colored one.
So that was the original blood medicine, and then we did this. This was the blood medicine B positive.
Yeah. So I didn't get that one yet.
This, to me, this cigar, if you like heavier cigars, it blows the other one out of the water. This is a Corojo wrapper, and it's phenomenal. We killed it this year with the B positive riff on it. It's the original blend, binder filler components, but the wrapper, we swapped out the Habano for a Corojo, and it just exploded. It was fantastic.
And it's funny you say that because we had somebody else on not long ago, and they were using wrappers like the Corojo, the Criollo, stuff that nobody really uses anymore. And
I'm a big that's what I'm smoking right now. This is a Corojo wrapper right here, and phenomenal. I was always have been a big Habano guy, Habano Ecuador, just because it's a pretty easy wrapper to blend with. But once I started getting into like the Corojos, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more interesting for me. And we did a release back in 15-16 with my father called Las Mareas, and it came out, and that was a Corojo wrapper grown in Namanji, which is a region of Nicaragua, with the Garcia. So basically, we come out with this cigar in like 2015, 2016. All the tobaccos are grown by the Garcias, by Pepin. He's got Namanji Corojo, he's got Nicaraguan binders, fillers. I mean, so I'm thinking this cigar is going to go off, and it just never caught traction.
And that's the one that you just said you found a bunch of like bundles of.
That's right.
I was okay. I saw that.
Yeah, he was
so
telling
So now that was from 2019. They still had like 5,000, 5,500 of the little 4.5 by 48s left. And so we did an exclusive with 2 different retailers. One was in Ohio, Creekside Cigar Company. The other one was right here in Nashville, which was Smokers Abbey and Gallatin. Creekside sold out their 2,500 cigars in literally like three hours. They were gone.
Wow.
They just flew. And then Abbey, it took them like about a week, but they sold them out too. But that cigar is so good. Like Corojo wrapper, really good stuff.
So now, when you find things that, I'm going to say you probably forgot about, when you go through the warehouse and you find them, do you try to relabel it, or do you try to do like you just did and just
No, I would never relabel something and call it something it's not, and neither would the Garcias. Because like one of the options I had on the table, because I found out that they had all these cigars still in the aging room. They go, "Hey, do you want to get rid of them? You want to do something with them?" And a retailer contacted me and said, "Hey, can we take those and then rebrand it?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that." And the Garcias will only do what it is. So I've got to call it Las Mareas. I'm like, oh, okay, so they passed. So that's what we did with Creekside and Abbey. We just relabeled it as Las Mareas Fetchet 2019, which is Harvest of 2019, and sold it for what it is. And we're always very authentic, very transparent. I would never rebrand something and call it something that it wasn't. I just don't think that's kosher. Not with
see,
me.
I like that because, and we had another guy on here.
I'm really, by the way,
Yeah.
this La Imperiosa, I've smoked the original, as I call it, the original label.
Yeah.
And, even the blend it still seems the same, which
It is.
I love I love that you rebranded this stuff, but you kept the consistency of it throughout over the years and kept it, because you get companies that the quality goes down, I've said to everybody, I'm like, a brand that I've never had an issue with, never worried about if the cigar was going to be good, was you guys, because I was like, I know what I'm getting. I know what I'm looking for. And, if it's in a humidor and I know there's something specific I'm looking for, like the Blood Medicine or, the limited edition Ellie Juarez at the time, or this one or that one, I know a lot of places are going to have it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, you can't go wrong with a Crown Head cigar, honestly, because you're getting what you pay for.
I appreciate you saying that, but all the credit goes to the factories that we work with. They make us look much better than what we really are, to be honest with you. I mean, I know I can always count on the Garcias. I know I can always count on Dorado Pichardo, Naxa, and Ernesto Perez Carrillo. I mean, we're fortunate to work with some of the best in the business.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you own the factory, or you just go ahead and work with them?
No, we're called a contract brand in this business. On this side of the fence, it's a contract brand. So I contract my father's cigars to make X product. We purchase said product, and then we resell it to the retailer. Retailer sells it to the consumer.
Have you ever considered potentially opening your own Crown Heads factory, or is that just was never on the table?
That's a lot of work.
No, never on the table. In fact, when I referenced, going down in 2011 in the spring and summer, and we had an offer on the table in Nicaragua with a gentleman there to say, okay, look, why don't we just start our own thing? This guy will supervise it. We'll buy the tobacco, we'll make the investment. But neither Mike Condor or myself wanted to commit to living down there. And really, if you're going to do that the right way, you've got to live down there and you got to be there all the time to really have control. And so neither one of us were interested in doing that, and we just couldn't. So it was never really up for discussion. It was like, no, we can't do that.
So how did you guys come up with the name Crown Heads? Because that's always intrigued me.
That's a really simple story. So when we, first started the whole idea of the company, we spent like about 3 weeks on a philosophy statement, because we figured if we had like an ethos or a philosophy statement, everything we did had to line up with that. And if we did that, we would have a good chance at succeeding. And then we were like, okay, that's done. We need a name. So I was working from home at the time, and I would like text different names to Mike, and some names he would like and I didn't, and vice versa. And then we would agree on a name, and we'd send it to the trademark attorney, and they'd be like, no, you can't do that because of this, whatever. So I have a notebook to this day of names that I had written all these different company names down. And then one day I was watching The Wizard of Oz, and it's like one of my favorite movies to go back and watch. And in the beginning of that movie, before it goes into the full color section of the movie, Dorothy walks to Professor Marvel, the guy the fortune teller guy, whatever. And on the side of his caravan that he had, it said, Crown Heads of Europe, past, present, future. And I looked at that and I said, Crown Heads. And I took a picture, I screenshotted it, texted it to Condor, and I said, what do you think of the name Crown Heads? And he's like, yeah, I kind of like that. I'm like, okay, let's send it to the attorney, because what I wanted to do was create something that was just kind of ubiquitous enough to make people ask the question, what is Crown Heads? it wasn't Condor Huber cigars. It wasn't CNH cigars. It was like,
Right.
I didn't want to get pigeonholed in that box of just cigars, because what if I wanted to expand into
Right.
the spirits world or the coffee world or whatever? I just wanted to establish
Right.
quality in crowned heads. And the idea was to create the umbrella being crowned heads. That's kind of like the group. And then the different albums that came on underneath it had their own personalities, which would be like Four Kicks, Hadley Grange, La Imperiosa, Mil Diaz, whatever. That was the concept. So that's how Crowned Heads was born, from the Wizard of Oz.
So how did you come up with the name Four Kicks? Because that is, I love that. When I tried that cigar, I was like, man, this is.
It was a good intro cigar for us. We wanted something that was easy enough and easily approachable to smoke for somebody just getting into cigars, but yet had enough nuance and complexity that somebody that's been smoking could still appreciate. So that's how we created the blend. But the name came from it was a lyrically inspired thing from Kings of Leon, which is a band that I was really into at the time. And there's a song called Four Kicks, and the whole thing is about getting into this fight with these people, and we'll take it to the yard like a cockfight. Four kicks who strut now. It's about beating the crap out of these other guys. So at that time, STG or General Cigar was literally taking CAO away from us. And it's like I was like saying goodbye to friends that I've had for like 12 years. And I mean, we were like family. It was more like a fraternity. And to see it get dismantled in that way, I was just very anti-corporate. I was very anti-establishment. I was just like, I wanted to put a big middle finger in the air to General Cigar and say, fuck you. And that was literally my message. And so on the box, like there's two cross flintlock pistols, and there's a compass, and it has a north, east, west, south, and the south is kind of big and has the pistols. And that was just a reference to the song where it says, we'll get our, we'll take to the yard like cockfight, four kicks, you strutting now. So it was just me kind of saying, go fuck yourself kind of.
No, that's pretty
kind
cool,
of what
though.
I did. That's kind of what I did when I retired from the post office. I was there 28 years, and I was like, when I walked out the door, I'm sitting in my car, and the post office sign is there, and I took a selfie, and I was like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's pretty much.
It paid for everything I got.
Right.
But when you retire, it's like a whole new world.
Yeah. I mean, once I left that door, I was like, I shut it. I wanted to start a new chapter completely all over again. And that's one of the discussions I had with Mike Condor at the time. Was like, he's like, hey, do you want to do something? And I said, well, with a couple of caveats, I said, I do not want to create CAO 2.0. I want to do something completely different. So if you give me the creative latitude to do something different and try to build an aspirational brand, then we can do this. And he was like, okay. And that was kind of the goal. Was more than you're enjoying it. I'm glad. That's cool.
So how did you come up with La Imperiosa for this specific? What made you come up with this blend and then name it this cigar?
Okay, so that's a good question. So what really kind of put us on the map in a big way was in 2014, we did a limited edition called Las Calaveras. And that cigar we did with the Garcias. It's the one with the sugar skull on it. And back then, like Half Wheel never gave out crazy ratings, but Charlie Minato rated that Las Calaveras a 94, which was unheard of at the time, still kind of is.
Right.
And he went on record as saying it's one of the best cigars I've ever smoked. And he's really hard to impress. Well, I don't know if it was attributed to that or whatever, but the cigar took off to the point where, like, the next year, people kept asking us, bring back Las Calaveras. And I'm like, no, it was a one and done. No, I'm not going to do that. And the demand was so much so that I'm like, all right, we're going to bring it back. Same blend as the 2014. And we're going to make it a regular production brand. And I was trying to think, what should we name it? Well, I was going through like these expired Cuban trademarks. And one of the expired trademarks that were up for registration was called La Imperiosa. And La Imperiosa translates to the imperative, that which is absolutely necessary. And I'm like, that's it. I mean, it's necessary that we bring this cigar back and make it available again. And we'll call it La Imperiosa. So we still have the original like lithograph from Cuba back in 1912 or 1920. Wow. The printmakers gifted us with that. Rydog in Holland, they gifted us with that particular vista. So we used that artwork as a big inspiration for the original Vista for La Imperiosa. So it just means the imperative of that, which is necessary, but it's the same blend as the 2014 Las Calaveras. It's Habano Escudo wrapper, Nicaraguan binder filler, still made at the Garcias.
That's awesome.
I have a question for you, and I've
Mhm.
asked all the people that have been on here. So, do you know Matty Rocks?
Yeah, Drew Estate guy, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not crazy, but I mean, he's just fun. He's a fun dude.
He's
Yeah, I like
Oh
Matty.
no, he's our best friend. He actually just texted us because he was
He's
coming
a
back
good
from
dude.
Florida, and he goes,
I'm actually drinking out of his cup right now.
he goes, yeah.
Out of his mug. He gave me one, and I'm like, yeah, that's my coffee cup now.
He goes, just checking in on you and Joey, Pops. He goes, how's everything going? I said, right now on with Crown Heads and Jon Huber. He goes, all right. He goes, I got delayed 20, and I can't say the word. He goes, I got delayed 20 effing 6 hours.
Where's he coming from?
Florida, from barn smoking.
26-hour delay?
Look,
He's
Probably
flying
because-
domestic?
Look.
Yeah, probably because of all the snow and stuff that's been coming through the States.
Oh my God, poor
Yeah.
dude. I am
It
so
says
sorry.
26 hours delayed.
That's crazy.
Well, it's either that or because of the shutdown, like a lot of
Yeah,
the
they-
traffic controllers are not
Depending on
working.
why they're
He
getting
gotta-
rid of.
He got to fly into Newark. So now the FAA.
Oh, the snow.
No, the FFA.
The FAA, yeah.
They
Certain airlines were canceling like 541 flights
because of the air traffic
domestically and all kinds of stuff.
So they
God bless.
they lowered the rate from Kennedy. They lowered the thing from JFK.
I'm just glad. I'm just glad I'm not
LaGuardia.
flying anywhere
They
right
lowered
now.
it from
No doubt.
Newark. So I said he can't. I said the only other thing he could do is fly into Stewart Airport, and I'll drive him home because it's only 45 minutes.
The only time I'm glad I'm flying is next year at some point.
Yeah,
Hopefully
right.
next
No
year we're gonna
kidding.
make it
I'm
to,
actually
hopefully next year we're gonna make it to
PCA.
PCA.
If not, at some point, my friends are actually planning a trip, and we're actually going to Tennessee.
Oh, you got to come down, man. Smoke a cigar here at the office.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Once we lock it in and the date's locked in, I'll let you know. This way we can
Please do.
set it up, and I'll come see you, see the whole operation there. And
There ain't a lot to see, but this is your house. So anytime you're in town,
I-
honestly, like we get the whole thing. I used to get this email all the time, like from info at like we're going to be in Nashville. We want to take a tour of the facility. I'm like, so one day on my Instagram, I wrote a skateboard from one side to the other, and I held the phone like this. I'm like, well,
I
there's your
think I've
tour.
seen that.
You know,
I think I saw that.
and it's
Like,
funny,
there's nothing to see. It's like an office and a bunch of warehouse. So
By the way, I
nobody.
do
Yeah,
there you
love the
go.
lighter you sent.
There you go. I love
You know, it. I was like, this is
that's what I wanted.
this
to
is
ask
pretty cool. I said because it's different. Nobody does the soft
you.
flames.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Okay, so I'll tell you why soft flame, because when I first started going to the factories in the 90s, I saw these guys that I'd read about in magazines, like like Nestor Plasencia, all these like cigar makers and Ernesto Perez Carrillo, and they all used Bics. And I'm like thinking, why do I need like the bing and the all that crap? So I've always used Bics or the Jeep lighters are also soft flame, and just
Yeah, those are my
because of
mother-in-law's greatest.
because that's what all my heroes were using it. But then I found out from another friend of mine in Florida, Alex Berezowski, he totally broke it down for me. He's like, look, there's a reason why those guys do that instead of the torch. And he broke it down to like the temperature of the torch versus the temperature of the soft flame, how the torch can char the tobacco and affect the
It
first.
can affect your taste. Yes.
Yeah, it made perfect sense. So I've always I've been using Bics.
Well, it's
And now
funny
we
because
started
when you sent them to us, I lit up the Danny Nippers was like, yo, the Broadway is freaking great, bro. He's like, yo, smoke that. So I was like, I've been wanting to smoke it anyway.
Yeah,
So it wasn't a hard twist for me to try to smoke it.
it's like
And
smoking
then-
a roach right now.
And then I lit it
There you
with
go.
this, and I was just like, you know what? I said, I can see why, you do the soft flame because it's nice. It gives a nice, it can give you a nice even burn. Sometimes you got to touch it up with a torch or, touch it up with the soft flame, but it's a completely different taste from when you light it with a soft flame versus the torch, like you said, because of that aspect. And I learned that probably within the last, I would say 4 or 5 years when I really started kind of getting and sitting down with people and having conversations that, like you said, a lot of the top guys use the Bics in the factories, or they use the Bics at events because it's different.
So now let me ask you this, John.
And here, but I'll finish that up. The other reason is I'm too lazy to have to refill things all the time with that.
I mean,
I
can
that
understand
whole
that.
thing, bleeding the lighter. I'm like, forget it, man. I use this, and then I
It's
go to this.
It's annoying. It's annoying.
Get another one.
When my lighter runs out of fluid, I said, Joey, this lighter's out of fluid. I'll go into the drawer and grab another one. But my thing is this to you. So, you know, sometimes you see, and I've done it, and it tastes a little different. So sometimes you see cigar smokers light the cedar and smoke it with that.
Cedar
What do you
spills,
think about that?
I think it's kind of an affectation. It's kind of like, oh, look at me, I'm a connoisseur because I'm using a cedar spill. I always just like, that's whatever, dude. I've never, that's not my thing. I don't have the patience.
I tried it, and it didn't really.
You know what it
do
is?
Anything.
Because you get some of the cedar that doesn't burn right. Like you light it and then it goes out as soon as you light it. You need like a stack, like 4 or 5 pieces thick, broken in half. I'm like, sometimes I'll do it, and then sometimes I'm like, I can't be bothered. I'll grab
the guys that do that are kind of posturing a little bit, and they're the same guys that are going to smoke a cigar. You give it to them, they'll be like, yeah, it was good, but it needs a little age. It'll be better with some age. That's like the fallback to like show that you really don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because everything is going to be better with some age.
Right.
You know what I mean? So tell me something I don't know already, So those are usually the same guy that uses a cedar spill. Like, oh yeah, it'll get better with age.
So now,
speaking of age on the cigars, what is your aging process like before the cigars even hit the market?
I leave that up to the factory. I'm like, I want quality from when I don't want to have somebody buy a box and go, I'm going to sit on it for 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 days. It's got to be ready to smoke right off the truck. That's my opinion. So I that's the directive we give to the factory. The factory delivers the product. So typically, broadly, it's going to take a little bit longer to age at the factory level than some other wrappers. But yeah, we never rush anything. And I think, I depend on the Jaime Garcias of the world to tell me when this is ready, and then you'll ship it. So I'm not going to tell them.
That's definitely a good person to listen to for sure.
Hell yeah.
Because his cigars are
I like
good.
that because, like I was in a lounge and Joey was with me, and this guy bought a cigar. You know how some of the cigars say age 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh my God. He goes, this cigar is so good. It was aged 20 years. I'm like, dude, it's the same cigar I'm smoking right now that was aged 6 months, 2 days. No, you can't smoke them right off the boat. I said, bro, absolutely you can. And you know who told us that? Ish. Ish said, when I wrote, when he did it, he was our first.
And even all the other makers we've said have said the same thing.
He was our very first cigar maker on a podcast, January 7th. And he rolled us a cigar, and I said, oh, I'm going to let this sit. And, he goes, why? I said, I was told you got to let it sit 30 days. He goes, just smoke it, bitch. And I said, oh.
I personally like when you're at events or, you go somewhere and they're fresh rolling in front of you.
Yeah.
Because I love the smoke. They're like, oh, everybody's like, yeah. I said, you can let them wait. I said, but if they're doing it right there, I said, that means they can be smoked right then and there.
And it's like Pedro.
That's right.
When we were going to.
When we did Barn Smoker, they had a station where
A.
No, it wasn't the A. It was you rolled your own undercrown, the Maduro, the regular one.
Right.
They did all the binder and filler. They had them in the molds, and all you did was put the
wrapper on it. Right.
That's when they said to let it sit for a month because the wrapper was still like really wet from trying to wet it and everybody rolling it. He said that you're supposed to let sit.
Yeah.
But if you're in the factory and you do that, you can smoke it right away.
But if the filler and binder tobaccos have been aged long enough, they're ready to go.
Yeah,
honestly. You know what I mean?
So we went to Barn Smoker, and that's when they were giving out the A.
I'm gonna have to smoke this.
So that was we went to Connecticut Barn
and
Smoker
Pennsylvania
first.
Okay.
And then we were heading to Pennsylvania Barn Smoker. So we had the A.
And we were saving them.
I was saving them. So Pedro hits him up. He goes,
no, he didn't hit me up. had put out a thing about cigars, and you know, like let's just say like the limited editions, whatever, like the age you can only get certain places. You know, he was saying, you know, if you're gonna save that for a special occasion, what if that occasion never comes? Why not smoke it today and make today a special occasion? And
I like the
said
way that
to
man
him,
thinks.
I was like, you know, when we had him on the show, I said, you know, Pedro, I said, I got to tell you, I said, when you put this out, and I said exactly what he said, what I just told you, and he was like, I said, you know, I kind of live by that now. You know, when I get something nice, and I want to save it, I'm like, you know, I said, Pedro would say, my man, just smoke it now, make today a special occasion, and
100%.
you
Yes,
know,
Pedro, I agree.
And I was
Absolutely.
like, it blew my mind, and I'm like, you know what though, he's not wrong.
No, he's
And,
absolutely right. I agree with that. Like, I don't sit on cigars and save cigars, and
I used
like if
to,
somebody
not so
sends
much
me
anymore.
somebody just sent me a nice assortment of cigars, very generous gentleman, and then 2 of them in there were like some like 10-year-old Opus X. Now I could have gone, I'm going to like save this for whatever. I'm like, fuck, no way, boom.
He's like, I'm gonna like that right now. What do you mean?
Damn right. I'm like, I'm not gonna wait. Why am I gonna wait?
It's already aged 10 years by the time you got it.
It's like when I
exactly.
It's like when I retired. Somebody sent me cigars, and you know when they come, I open them up, I smell them, I light them, and somebody said, "Bro, why would you do that? It's been in a box for 3 days." And I said, "Yeah, it's got a Bonvita pack in this," and I said, "And it's my retirement, you know, my retirement package that they sent me." He goes, "Yeah, but you should hold on to that because, you know, you're not gonna." And I said, "Bro, why am I gonna hold on to a cigar?"
100%.
Right, just like I was gonna hold on to this one for another day, but I'm gonna light it now.
That's the beautiful thing about cigars. They burn, and then you need more, so we make more.
Listen, and you know what? And this one right here has even though I've only smoked one of them already.
That's the Broadway.
That's the Broadway.
It has probably become one of my favorites that I've had the opportunity to smoke.
I burnt my finger like 4 times already.
Because it's so it's different. It's so good. It's got everything you can look for, and especially in this size, it like you said, it's perfect.
We only did it in 3 sizes too. I mean, we launched it in that Robusto Extra, which I sent you guys, and then we also do a Toro, which is 654, which is continually sold out. We can never keep that one in stock. And then we do an Epicure, which is like 556, I believe, for the bigger engaged
John,
guys.
let me ask you: do you make any Churchill cigars or things like that?
The only true Churchill, when I say Churchill, it's like either 748 or 749. That's a Churchill. Right. The only Churchill I've ever done was JR Cigar contacted me a couple of years ago to do a special cigar for their 50th anniversary. And I'm like, hell yeah, I'll do something for your 50th anniversary. That's quite an honor. I mean, when I was, when I didn't have any money, I used to buy cigars off of JR Cigar and used to read Lou Rothman's comments. I was like, now I get to do a cigar for you guys. Hell yeah. Anyway, it was called Mother Church because Mother Church is the name of the, right? It was the nickname of the Ryman Auditorium.
Last time we were just there, I seen it. It's in that orange and peach orange and yellow box or white box.
That's right. So we did Mother Church, and then it did so well. We did a reissue of it, and now, not to shamelessly plug, but I'm working on another version of Mother Church, the original, plus a Maduro version of it for like March, April of 26 for those guys.
So it's funny because, and I'm sure you can attest to this. So when I first started going to North Carolina, when my mom moved down there after we sold our house in Texas, somebody said, "Yo, have you ever been to J&R's?" And I said, "Nah, I never been there." Because, I'm a brick and mortar guy, like you said. I go to like mom and pop shops, whatever.
Yep.
So I went to J&R's and I was just looking around, and that's back when they had the Playboy cigars, and they were buying pallets of before General took over and Monte Cristo. And that's when they had all these big pallets and stuff. So then I'm standing at the counter and I look and I see a cigar, and it said, just like Arturo Fuente, whatever, just like that. And I'm like,
yeah, the alternatives.
Yeah. John, I swear, every time I went there, I became friends with the managers. And if I was going to see my mother, I'd call him. If I left on a Friday night, I'd call him up on Friday and I'd be like, yo, it's Big Dog. I said, I'm coming down. I should be there by 10 o'clock in the morning. I just got to go say hi to my mom. Can you save my stuff for me? Put it away. Bro, I would go in there. They would have packages waiting for me. And somebody said, can I help you? I said, all of those belong to me. And he goes, oh, we don't do that. And the manager goes, no, we do that. He goes, he came from New York, and this was his first place to stop. So, John, those alternative cigars, and this is where I tell people, I put a $5 cigar up against a $60 cigar. And they go, what do you mean? I said, take the labels off again. What are you going to know the difference?
Well, the guy that founded JR was a gentleman named Lou Rothman, real character. And he had this famous saying that I remember. He said, do you know what the difference is between a $5 cigar and a $25 cigar? And his answer was $20. Do you know? I mean, to an extent, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, right. I would agree with that to a degree. There are, there are some different costs in tobaccos and procuring tobacco and storing tobacco and aging tobacco, all that stuff. So there is, not every cigar is going to cost the same. And but yeah, for the most part, like, I don't understand, like, some of these guys charging $100 for a cigar. I think it's purely marketing. I don't think I've ever smoked it. A perfect example, about a month, maybe 2 months ago, Adam in our office gifted me a cigar that was gifted to him. He said, buddy of mine gave me 2 of these. I want to give you one. I said, okay. It was a Cohiba from Cuba, a Cohiba, like 55th anniversary, something that had the hologram. It had all this gorgeous looking cigar. And I'm like, I looked it up online, and the SRP was $456 for one cigar.
What?
Yeah.
True. Hand to God.
Holy moly.
So I was just like, well, I'm going to have some fun with this. So I went on my Instagram and I said, I'm going to, this is a very special cigar. It's legit. It is what it is. It's not a counterfeit. I'm going to smoke this cigar and review it here on Instagram. So behind the scenes, what I was doing was I was Googling flavor descriptors for breakfast cereals. So I looked at Cocoa Puffs, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and like honey grams or something.
Honey Nut Cheerios?
No, Honey Grams, it was like, right?
Oh,
and I took the flavor descriptors from that, and that's how I wrote my review, and everybody was like, oh my God, that was so. And then I pulled the curtain back and said, well, basically I just wrote a review of breakfast cereal. So there you have it. That's all marketing. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? And the cigar was okay, but it was not $456. I mean, I'm not going to miss a car payment to buy that cigar. There's no way.
So now, here's another question being, so now, how is this affecting you with these new tariffs, if they are?
Oh, of course they are. Absolutely. Especially the one that's looming, which is apparently at the end of November. It may go into effect. We don't know, but could be 100% tariff on Nicaragua.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that is brutal, a devastation. So what we've done, instead of taking price increases, we just kind of like amortized everything out. And then we're just putting at the end of an invoice, we're just doing a 6% surcharge for tariffs. It covers part of the cost that we're incurring, but not all of it. So we're still taking a bit of a hit, but not passing all of it on to the end consumer. So right now, I think it's at 18 or 19% from NICA, 10% out of the Dominican, and I think 18% out of Honduras or something. Wow. But at the end of November, when the commenting period expires, the Trump administration is contemplating 100% tariff on Nicaragua, which would be, I don't even know what,
I was going to say, obviously, that's going to hit hard because a lot of companies are made out of Nicaragua.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just, and it's bad because not only does it hurt you guys, it hurts people like us that, are 75% sales tax, like Washington State, 126% sales tax. Now
Which I didn't know that.
Now that cigar that I used to buy for $13 is now costing me 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks.
Yeah.
And I'm not spending bucks on a cigar.
I'm hoping that there's an exemption for premiums. There's some talk behind the scenes of it, maybe, potentially, possibly, or
I've heard
maybe
that.
It just doesn't. Yeah, or maybe it just doesn't happen at all. I don't know. The other thing is that some Some factories are saying, okay, well, this is true. You could bunch the cigars in Nica, and then you can take them across the border to Honduras, apply the wrapper, finish the product in Honduras, and ship them from Honduras, and you would escape the 100% tariff if need be. So,
You know what?
like the Garcias have a factory in Honduras as well as Nicaragua. So potentially, if this did go through, what we could do is just everything that's made there, we would just ship out of Honduras. So
You know what,
it wouldn't
John?
be.
That's
Somebody else-
not bad. That's actually a smart
I
idea.
forget who it was, but somebody else told us that too. The same thing that you can go over to Honduras.
That's what a few different
and
people have said, I
ship it from
believe.
there. I think it was Ish. When
Might
we
have
were
been on one
talking
of
to Ish on a private call,
Maybe that, or maybe it might have been one of the
or
meetings
either
we were
the
on.
TPA meeting.
Yeah, somebody had mentioned that.
So now let me ask you this: you know Ish Oliver on BAMF, correct?
No, I don't actually.
Oh, you don't? Okay, I'm surprised. Ish knows the whole world. Well, he has a thing called it's TPA. It's
It started when
they were in
the
Vegas.
PCA went to New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans, that's right.
And there was you couldn't go inside and smoke. So what he did is he formed essentially like a group of people, all different brands, different, walks of life, whether it's retailer, consumer.
Because remember,
media.
they said that you couldn't smoke.
And what they basically did is they were going to rent a building for only the TPA members to go into and smoke after you go to the PCA. If you get cigars from all these different people for media purposes, you can go in there and you can go smoke there and smoke the cigar and kind of do your posting and stuff like that. That was before they were able and allowed them to smoke inside. That was kind of how that started, and then he's kind of,
he has grown so much. And we became members because this is one of my good friends, and it's pretty interesting because we've had people reach out to us from the group. Like we had Hayes Gray on, we had other people on from the group, and I think it's just pretty cool because Ish goes on and he picks certain things, and they talk about, like the other day they were talking about the certification of master blending
for the the Tobacco University and stuff like that they were doing. It's an interesting, that's something I've always looked into, because I said it's something that, if we do down the line eventually want to revisit making our own cigars, which we had started and then stopped.
We started it and then we stopped because my wife got sick for 4 years.
And then now with the podcast, everybody has asked us, are you guys going to do your own cigars? Are you guys going to do something? Because I think it'd be good. And I'm like,
but they don't realize, John, in New York, to try to get a wholesaler retail distribution license
is expensive.
Sure. And it takes
a while.
I know a guy, he was trying to open a lounge, and it took him almost 9 to 10 months just for them to look at his application.
Yeah, I believe it.
You got to do the background that you're not a felon, that you've never been arrested.
Somebody just hit the lights on you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why we're moving.
When this happened last night too, we were all sitting here and the lights went.
John, I gotta jump off and go see if the switch popped. I'll go down.
Yeah, no, you good. I got to get going pretty soon too. I gotta be wheels up in about 15.
We just want to thank you for coming
let's
on.
Wind down, guys.
We appreciate it. We would absolutely love to have you on again for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. At your convenience. Let me know. I'd love it. It's been a pleasure to chat.
Turnbuckles and Stogies with Jon Huber of Crown Heads, the CEO and founders. And if you know where to get his cigars, make sure you go get them, because I'm going to tell you right now.
I've said it from the beginning.
I burnt my finger 4 times on this.
I've said it from day one of smoking Crown Heads. I've never been disappointed.
I've never been disappointed.
Thank you, guys. That's very kind. I appreciate that.
And enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Yeah, sure.
And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, out of your big warehouse.
Ain't that big.
And if
appreciate you guys.
Make it down there next year, I will for sure make sure to make a stop and come see you and have a cigar for sure.
I would expect nothing else. I appreciate you guys.
John, thank you for everything,
Cheers.
my brother. Have a good day.
Likewise.
Cheers.
Happy Vets Day. See you, boys.
Yes, you too.
All
Thank
right,
you.
later. Bye.
Later.
Justice Jackson, they captured Herman Goring alive.
Tell me about him.
He's the face of the Nazis. I'm going to put Goring on trial.
Ever escapes the hangman's noose. Very sure of yourself. No man has ever beaten me.
Goring has to fall. You don't just have to win, you have to be flawless.
You're walking into a trap.
Knowing what we know now, would you still follow Adolf Hitler?
Nuremberg, rated PG-13, now playing only in theaters.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.